Shalom Lekulam. Hello everyone. Welcome to lesson number 8. Today we're gonna be covering and discussing the concept of the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. We're not gonna go into the Tree of Life that is mentioned in the book of Bereshit in Genesis. This is a Tree of Life, a diagram that the Kabbalists use in order to tell us a little bit more about the spiritual reality. What I want you to do is to think about all these concepts not in the sense of how we know these names to be. For example, when we talk about let's say foundation, there's foundation in our human language as a foundation of a house, foundation of certain knowledge and all that. The foundation in Kabbalah, it has a different, I would say, level of understanding. Basically, Yesod foundation. Same thing with mercy and other words that you are familiar with. These words are gonna sound very familiar. You might think that the word Keter, crown, is like a crown. Yeah, it uses the symbolism of the crown in order to give us an insight of what's happening in the spiritual realm, in a level that is up there in spirituality. Just like any language, the language of Kabbalah needs to be learned. The Kabbalistic language is a language that is based on roots and branches. So the roots are gonna be spiritual, and the branches are what is a physical reality, or what is our understanding of physical reality. So when you want to visualize how Kabbalah tries to teach us about spiritual things, you have to think of a tree, and this tree has its roots on the top and the branches in the bottom. Basically, it's an upside down tree because the roots are in spirituality. And we tend to think in our human level that spirituality is up. We have given that symbolism that everything that has to do with spirituality is up there. It's up. And everything that is not spiritual or not good is down there. So that's the reason we have actually adopted the upside down tree with roots in the spiritual realm up there and the branches down here. But in spirituality, it's not up and down, left or right, good or bad, right or wrong, or anything like that. We use this language, like I said before, to basically give insights of the forces that are moving in spirituality. So today we're going to talk about the Tree of Life. And the Tree of Life is one of the most important concepts in Kabbalah. It helps the student understand the world beyond our world, the spiritual world. It is like a map that helps us visualize what's out there in that other land we call spirituality. So something very important to understand is when we talk about the Tree of Life and the diagram and everything, do not think that's how spirituality is. You know, these little spheres and everything like that. That's just a diagram in order to separate these concepts and present them to you, the students, and to me, the students, in a form that we can absorb the light enclosed in that package called the diagram of the tree of life. Okay? So, the tree of life, the Etz Hachaim, is mentioned, or you probably heard about it for the first time in the book of Bereshit, Genesis. And in there you're going to find also that there's another tree, and that tree is called the Etz Hadat, which is a tree of good and evil, or knowledge of good and evil. And these trees were actually planted in the Garden of Eden. And when you study the book of Bereshit, you will start asking questions like, why God did that in the first place? You know, why planting this tree with the other tree? And some Kabbalists will actually explain that as that this tree wasn't actually a real tree. It was what is called, you know, some kind of forces or things like that Adam at that moment was supposed to enjoy, and other forces that when he was ready, when he was developed properly, meaning reaching the level of Shabbat, once he reached that level of Shabbat, he was going to be able to eat of the whole tree properly, meaning with the center, which is the tree of life, and its side, which is the knowledge of good and evil, and be a whole being that will bring correction to everything that happened before. However, Adam didn't wait until Shabbat and ate of the tree of good and evil before that happened, due to a force called the Nahash. The Nahash is a serpent. And this serpent is not a serpent, you know, like we know, you know, a snake or something like that. It's a force of egoism that divides everything. So in Kabbalah, whenever we hear the word bad, the word sin, it's not the same as the religious, basically, knowledge of sin and bad. What in Kabbalah we say that is bad or is a sin is any action taken by a human being that separates, meaning separates you and others from having a connection with the Creator. And that's what happened, you know, in Bereshit. That tree of life appears again in the future, and appears again in the future as a form of a ladder. And that will be in Genesis as well. You're going to find that there's a character called Jacob. He was a grandson of Abraham. And Jacob, what he does is he falls asleep while he was running away from Esau, and in his dream he sees this ladder, like stair, you know, going towards heaven, and there were angels going up and down. And that's also, for the Kabbalists, that's also the tree of life. It's the different levels that the tree of life have, and we're gonna see why we call it, you know, the sulam, a ladder, and the spiritual ladder, and why how that ladder actually works in the tree of life. Okay, so before we start, I want to make sure that we touch base on the last lesson very quick, and remember about this part over here in which we are in concealment. The only way to get out of concealment and start working, correcting our desires is if we love our fellow human beings as ourselves, right? And we start learning about doing that and how we do it through the study of Kabbalah. And then when we start doing our corrections, we will receive the light of Chokmah through the light of Hasidim. Remember, the only way to receive the light of Chokmah is if it is encased or inside the life of Hasidim. Like I tell you in the previous lesson, it's like a pipe in which the water runs through it. That's or Hasidim is the pipe, or Chokmah is the water running through it. And the objective is basically adhesion with the Creator. That's the goal. Similarity of form with the Creator. Okay, so in order to start working on this and start making this a practical endeavor, we're gonna start on every lesson from now all the way, to intermediate and all that. We're gonna start talking about some intentions before we start studying Kabbalah. And before we start studying Kabbalah, we're gonna have that intention. We're gonna read something that will give us a startup, a warm-up, in order for us to start working during the lesson, so we can have some type of masach in which we're receiving the light of life for a reason. Okay, so read with me the following. I will bring light into my heart in order to share it with humanity. My advancement is for their sake, not mine. Let's read it again. I will bring light into my heart in order to share it with humanity. My advancement is for their sake, not mine. Okay, so that's our intention for this lesson. Now, what we're going to do, we're gonna go to the lesson itself now about the Tree of Life. But before we talk about the Tree of Life, we need to know where this tree came from, right? Where is the whole idea or the whole system coming from? And it comes from a system called Ein Sof. And the Arizal, the Ari, he narrates actually how this Tzimtzum, and remember the word Tzimtzum from a previous lesson in which we talk about the development of the vessel until it becomes completely egoistic and independent from the light of the Creator, meaning from the will of the Creator, and then he senses that it's opposite to the Creator and needed to create a restriction, a tzimtzum, in order to start receiving the light, in order to give pleasure to the Creator. This is what we are talking about here, right? This is Ein Sof. This is when the restriction happens. So I would like to read from the Tree of Life. It's a Chaim from the Arizal, and we're gonna follow the Arizal using the diagram that we have here, okay? And with that diagram, you will understand what's happening in this diagram, because this diagram, you're gonna see this diagram over and over when you do some search on Kabbalah on the internet and all that, and you may understand that is a very old diagram. And where's the Tree of Life? Right here in the middle. That's the Tree of Life. And how does the Tree of Life divide into the spheres as we know in the Tree of Life that we usually see with different spheres? We will see later. But now let's read Arizal. When he rose in its simple will to create the worlds and to cause the emanations to emanate by bringing forth the completion of his works, his names and his attributes by the light, which was the reason for the creation of the worlds, as we explained in branch 1 in the first inquiry, then Ein Sof constricted itself into a middle point that was in the middle of its light. It constricted the light and moved it to the sides surrounding the middle point. An empty, airy, hollow, void place remained in the middle point. So what he's describing here is basically the Ein Sof made what is called a halal, an empty space right here in the middle. So what you see is just you figure in your mind, symbol in your mind of a circle with a point in the middle. Everything around that circle, it's the light surrounding the circle, okay? And he mentions later that this constriction was uniform around the middle point of the void, so that the hollow place was completely round. So it's telling us, a geometrical figure in order for us to understand. And then he goes into geometry. The circle is the most uniform shape, and why not use a triangle? Why not use other shapes, which is not relevant for our class today. So let's go to 16 here. By the way, I'm reading from the first gate, branch 2, verse 16. Now, after the aforementioned constriction, a void, airy, empty, hollow place remained in the middle of the light of Ein Sof, as mentioned above. Thus, a place already existed for there to be emanations, creations, formations, and makings. So we're talking about emanations, is the Atzilut, the Bria, the Yetzirah, and the Asiya levels already. But they're not there yet. It's just that this middle point right here is created for that, with that goal. Then from the light of Ein Sof, one straight line extended downwards from its circular light and developed and descended within the void. So that's the Kav. It's called Kav. So the Kav is this line that you see, white line that you see that connects all these circles, right? And goes all the way here. That's the Kav that he is basically talking about right here. Okay, that's the Kav. The head of the line extended from Ein Sof and touches it. However, the bottom of this line did not reach the light of Ein Sof. The light of Ein Sof extended and spread below via the line. It emanated creative form and made all the words in the hollow place. This line is like a small pipe that draws and spreads the waters of the supreme light of Ein Sof to the worlds that are in the airy hollow place. So remember the concept that I told you about Or Hasidim being this pipe in which all the light comes in. So he's using the same concept here to explain to us how that light came and basically touch this place here in the middle, but it's not touching Ein Sof. It touches Ein Sof here on the top, but once it reaches here, it doesn't touch Ein Sof. It just stops there, and that's what he says there. But he's talking about this, and he mentioned that those places already existed there to be emanations, creation, formations, and making. Then he says it emanated, created form, and made all the worlds and in the hollow place. So right here, all these things happen. So this Kav came down, and as he comes down, it comes in different degrees, or is sensing. The light is sensed by the vessel in these different degrees, and these degrees are the sefirot. So we're gonna have Ein Sof Aur, the lights of Ein Sof. We're gonna have Keter. We're gonna have Chokmah, Bina, Chesed, Geburah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut in the middle. Okay? So, very important to know this diagram because we're gonna use this this line, this curve a lot in our studies. We're not gonna use the tree of life as we know it. We're gonna use as we know it for the most part, which is 10 sphere and everything like that, separated left, right, center. We're gonna see the tree of life as when we study it exactly as the line shows it here. One sephira under the other. Okay. So we talk about Ein Sof. Ein Sof is the infinite light, and this light basically is the Malchut that we talk about, that did the restriction when we talk about the development of the vessel. And Ein Sof was created by this Ratzon Lekabel, which is the desire to receive, which is the Malchut. In fact, we can say that this whole thing in here is Malchut from the 5 stages of development that we saw. So this Malchut has the sefirot that we talk about, the 5 levels that we talk about, Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Serampin, and Nupa, and it creates a Malchut in the middle, which is a Malchut de Malchut. So the Sefer Yetzirah talks about these spheres that come into being, and it's on the Sefer Yetzirah Mishnah number 2. He said there are 10 intangible sefirot. In Hebrew is Eser Sefirot Pelima, and 22 letters which are the foundation. Esrim, Oshtaim, Atiot, Yasod. 3 are mothers, and 7 are doubles, and 12 are simple. So he's telling us that this tree of life, this line, also has letters in it, and we're gonna know what these letters are all about when we study the book of Bereshit. It's like the DNA of creation is there, the DNA of what is going to become the word, a spoken word, a spoken language of creation, in order to create things and to make sure that everything happens according to a development that corrects certain vessels. Okay, and let's go to the next. So remember when I mentioned, let's go back here first. Remember when I mentioned about this line right here? This line right here, right now, put in your mind, is this line right here. This first block of right here. Alright, so that's the line. And these other blocks that we have here, they're not separated, they're still here. They're inside here, but we're separating these in order to explain the different sensations of the vessel. Alright, so this is Sinsun Aleph right here. Okay, then eventually the creature, as this line, remember in the circle the line came in, start developing certain parsufim, they correspond, to the 5 degrees of creation, Keter, Chokmah, Bina, and Serampin, Malchut, and that's something that you're gonna learn about. Parsuf Ab, Parsuf Sag, is gonna be also Parsuf Ma and Parsuf Bon. And when we touch base on that, that's gonna be probably in the next lesson. Touch base on that, you're gonna see this tree of life, and how the forces are working inside this tree of life. In fact, here you can see, like in Parsuf Ab, you know, how Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Chesed, Geburah, and then Tiferet, 1/3 is above something called Parsa, which we're gonna learn what is all about, and then the other third is below, and then the Nehim. This area is very important, from Geburah down to the Malchut in here, because that's where in the future we're gonna have a breaking of the vessels, and also is in this place that a lot of things are gonna happen. In meaning like around here, just to give you a preview of what's coming up in our studies if you continue with us, around this area here, that's where the book of Bereshit that we know from the Torah, the written Torah, starts. Start talking about what happened here in order to fix what happened here. Okay? Well, the tree of life, we know it in this way. We know it in ways that are separated, you know, the vessels are separated and all that. And it's divided into 10 sefirot with the names Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Chesed, Geburah, Tifaret, Netzat, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. And they have different names that we're gonna talk about, and these names might sound, like I said, familiar because of our human language. You know, we're using our human language to describe this, but in reality, it's not. It has nothing to do with our understanding of things. So let's touch, you know, base on and the concepts of the 10 sefirot. Okay, so we're gonna talk about Keter first. So a lot of people might ask, where is it that you get these ideas and these concept of the tree of life and the names of the sefirot? Where is it? Well, let me put this a little bit bigger. Let's put it right here so you can read it. Basically, you're gonna find it, you know, in the different places, but this is one of the places where it's more explicit. Thine, O Adonai, is the greatness, which is Gedulah, and the power, Geburah, and the glory, Tiferet, and the victory, Nesach, and the majesty, Hod. For all that is in heaven and in earth is thine. Thine is the kingdom, which is Malchut, O Adonai, and thou art exalted ahead, Rosh Sefirah Keter, above all. So this is where we get basically the sefirot. The sefirot in when you read the Tanakh. Let me put it here that way. Let me see, right there. That way that you can see it. So you can have your notes. Alright, so let's start with Keter. Let's start with one that they mention at the end, Rosh Sefirah Keter, which is the art exalted ahead above all. That's Keter. So Keter means crown. Keter is also called Keter Elyon, the supreme crown. And as I explained this 10 sefirot, I'm gonna use the Sefer Yetzirah as a reference sometimes. So according to Sefer Yetzirah says it is called inconceivable intellect, Shechel Mufla, supernal crown, and it is light, idea, the ancient one, and it is the first glory, regarding which there is no any creature able to comprehend its existence. Okay? So it means the supreme crown. The attribute of the human attribute that we can give, or I would say, psychological human attribute that you can give to Keter, is the attribute of will and humility. will in humility. And let me, as I do this, explain something, okay? This Sephirah, Keter, it's in a world, let me change the colors, it's better. It's in its own world, and that world is called Atziluth, the word of the world of emanation. Atziluth, that's what it is. Okay, the name, the attributed name of God that is given to Keter is the name Ehia. And the biblical figure, if you want to give it, a symbolic biblical figure, it's Habore, the creator. Okay, so that's Keter. Now we're going to talk about Chokmah. Why we're going to talk about Chokmah? Because you need to understand the sefirot in the Tree of Life, as we know it right here, from one side to the other side, to the other side, to the other side, to center, to the side, to the other side, center, it stays in the center, right? And for those of you that are curious, the center is called the Tree of Life, and the two sides are the Tree of Knowledge of Good and evil. And remember, good and evil is not the good and evil that we know of. It's just a way to basically give meaning to a force that tries to unify, and a force that tries to separate, and a force that unifies two sizes in order to make them one and work together to help correct creation. Alright, so Chokmah. Chokmah is Sephirah right here. So Chokmah means wisdom. It is called shining intellect. Shekel Mashir. It is the crown of creation and the splendor of the harmonious equivalence that exalts itself as head over all. And it is called by the masters of Kabbalah the second glory. So Chokmah is the second glory after Keter, and you're gonna hear a lot about the light of Chokmah, the light of Chokmah, light of Chokmah, and then the light of Bina, and the light of Bina is called Ol Hasidim, the light of mercy. But at this moment, just have in your mind Chokmah, wisdom. This Sephirah is the attribute that is given from the human standpoint is that of the left lobe of the brain. The name of God attributed to that Sephirah is the name Yah. And the biblical figure that is attributed to this Sephirah is King Solomon. Let's go to Bina. Bina, like I said, is the Tree of Life runs from side to side, so this is Bina. And Bina, it says, is understanding, so you got wisdom, and you got understanding. Also, Bina, you can call it intelligence, so understanding or intelligence. It is called sacred intellect, Shekel Mekodesh. It is the foundation of the ancient wisdom that is called deep faith, and its roots are faithfulness, and it is the father of faith, because from its power faith is emanated. So Bina, it's the Sephirah that is called the father of faith. So now that we're talking about faith, what is faith? Faith is a Sephirah that is, let me get right here in the middle. Right here in the middle. And I said Sephirah, but it's not even considered a Sephirah. That's why it's not even in the Tree of Life, the diagram. Some diagrams has it, but it's not a Sephirah itself. It is a result of the unification of Chokmah and Bina. So it's that's why you're gonna see in the book of Bereshit, it says, and Adam knew Eve, so Chokmah joined Eve, and this is basically the zivug, the union, the relation that happened in order to give birth to the rest of the sefirot. So this here, the sefirot called faith, is not necessarily a sephirah, so we don't count it as a sephirah, we count only 10. In fact, the Sefer Yeshua says only 10. It's not 9, it's only 10. It's not 11, it's only 10. So let's go to Chesed, but before we go to Chesed, you need to understand that these two Sefirot, Chokmah and Bina, they're also in their own world. And Bina and Chokmah are in the world of Bria. Let me correct this quickly. And what happens is the following. If you go to the Bible, you're gonna see a character in the Bible that is attributed the Sephirah Bina, and that character in the Bible is Leah. So Leah is basically the biblical character attributed, to Bina, and also the name Yohevah Elohim is also attributed to this Sephirah. So when we studied the book of Bereshit, you're gonna see that name appears a lot. First of all, Elohim, and then Yohevah Elohim, because it's in Bina that actually creation start happening. Bina is the mother of creation, and then when Bina creates using the 7 days of creation, which is the 7 lower Sefirot, then the attribute of Chokmah was able to get into creation. So that's why you're going to have the name Elohim mentioned first, and then you're going to see that two names are joined together, Yohevah Elohim. And now you have these two aspects mentioned, because it's giving you a clue that now there's two lights acting on creation. Okay? And this lesson is going to have, I forgot to mention in the beginning, this lesson is going to have other parts, the Tree of Life. This is the first part, and then in the following lesson I'm going to continue with the Tree of Life, because time is not enough to talk about all these concepts. So the next Sephirah we're going to talk about is going to be Chesed. So Chesed means mercy. You will know Chesed basically is mentioned here as Gedulah. Chesed has also the meaning of love and compassion, loving kindness. But let's see what the Sefer Yeshua says about Chesed. It is called constant intellect, Shechel Kavua, and it is called so because from it all the spiritual powers are being emanated through a slender emanation, for they are being emanated, these from those by the power of the emanator, the ancient one, supernal crown, may he be blessed. So this is the first day of creation. Remember, Yom Echad, first day of creation is Chesed. So that's basically what he's talking there. So the meaning of Chesed, like it says, love and compassion, greatness, and even loving kindness. These the human attribute that is given to Chesed is exactly the same thing: loving kindness and compassion. The body parts is gonna be the left arm, and the name given to this Sephirah, attributed to this Sephirah, is the supreme name or supreme God, which is the name El. El. And the biblical figure that is attributed to this Sephirah is the biblical figure of Abraham. Abraham is basically Chesed. So whenever you read Abraham, he's talking about the Sephirah Chesed, this parsuf called Abraham, how he basically manifested Chesed, basically loving kindness into humanity, and that's something very important to know when you read Genesis. The next Sephirah that we're gonna talk about is Geburah, and Geburah, it's known in this verse over here as Geburah, power, right? And Geburah means severity, power. It is also known as Din, which is judgment, and something that you are going to also use a lot in Kabbalah is the word Pahad, which is fear. It is called rooted intellect, Shechel Nishrash. It is called so because it is the essence of the harmonious equivalence, and it is the one that is unified in the essence of understanding, emanating from the enclosure of the ancient one. This Sephirah and all the Sephirah until the sixth one, they are going to be in a world called Yetzirah. So the world of Yetzirah contains what we call the 6 days, the first 6 days of creation. Okay, Geburah is the second day of creation, and if you read the book of Genesis and you pay attention to the wordings and everything, you're gonna see that that day actually is also not good yet, not perfected, because the Geburah, that force, came to be, and the attributes given, a human attribute given to Geburah is strength. The body parts is the right arm, and the name of God attributed to Geburah is Elohim Gibor, powerful God of God, God Almighty. So Elohim Gibor, and the biblical figure that is attributed to Geburah is Yitzchak, Isaac, Yitzchak. He's a son of Abraham. And the reason it's attributed to Yitzchak is because of the Pahat. Yitzchak, when he was going up the mountain with Abraham, and Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac in the Kedah, the binding of Isaac, he felt that fear. However, he, being the son of Abraham, everything that he had learned and all that, he let things happen. He had faith. He went with it, having faith that the Creator is only good that does good. And everybody knows the story, what happened. When Abraham was ready to strike him with the knife, an angel from heaven told him to stop, and another sacrifice was given in his place. Alright, so we're gonna touch Tiferet, and then in the next lesson we're gonna continue with the next Sefirot and their attributes and everything. But Tiferet is mentioned here as glory. Glory Tiferet. It's also called beauty. Let me read the Sefer Yetzirah in order for us to have a better idea. It is called set apart influx intellect. Shechel Shefa Nivdal. It is called so because in it the influx of emanation, Atzilut, increases itself, and it bestows that influx upon all the blessings, uniting themselves by its essence. So the meaning of Tiferet is beauty. It's right there in the center, and this Sefirot in the center is the one that unifies all these forces, that are coming from the one source called Keter. And sometimes you're gonna see in Kabbalah that they're gonna have names like Arik Amping and Ser Amping is a bigger face and the smaller face. Okay, so basically that's what Tiferet is. It's a reflection of this force over here, bringing balance by connecting all these forces into one. Okay, so Tiferet, it's in the word of Yetzirah. The body part that is attributed to Tiferet is the heart, the torso. The name of God attributed to Tiferet is Yohevahe Elo Vedat. The Hakadosh Baruch Hu. So whenever you hear Hakadosh Baruch Hu is talking about this Sephira, this a Parsufim called Seramping Tiferet, that unifies all these forces of creation into one coherent force. Okay, and the biblical figures given to Tiferet is Jacob, the son of Isaac, and also Jacob as Israel, and also the Sephira Tiferet has other two figures that are very important. The first one is Adam from the book of Bereshit, and the force of redemption called Moshiach. So these are the attributes, biblical attributes, or biblical figure attributes for Tiferet. We're going to stop right here, and we're going to continue in another lesson in which we will touch the other Sephira, and then we're going to talk about the whole tree. In the meantime, don't forget to visit us at Receiving the Upper Light Kabbalah Study Group online. You can reach us at www.receivingtheupperlight.com. And that website you will find different ways to connect with us. Any questions, anything that you want to suggest for future lessons, any concept that you want us to touch base on, go to the contact page, and in there you're gonna find a place where you can write your message to us and send it to our email, and we will answer as soon as we can. Also, there's links over there to our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is a closed group, and in there, those people that are in that group are gonna receive basically a lot of information that is not gonna be out there for other people. Like every time there's a new video, that group will receive notice that, hey, there's a new video over there, a new lesson, or a new playlist that we just started, things like that. And it's a place where people can have conversations and share about the theme of Kabbalah. That group is not necessarily about Receiving the Upper Light Kabbalah Study Group. You can have information, as long as it is Kabbalah, you can have information there and post it there and share it with the rest of the group. The only thing that we don't accept is people trying to proselyte other people. So there's people with agendas like that. They're not welcome in that group. We're just there to share We're just there to know each other. We're just there to learn from each other. We're not there to convert people to any religion. That's not the goal. That will never be the goal. The whole goal of this group is to help people advance spiritually using the method of Kabbalah. And maybe Kabbalah is not your method, but that doesn't mean that because you don't agree with the method, it's a bad method. So just be mindful that in that group, you have to be following those um, guidelines. All right, so visit us at receivingtheupperlight.com and or in our YouTube channel or Facebook group, and that's it for now. But like I said, we still have to go through Nesak, Hod, Yesod, and Malchut. And with Malchut, we're gonna spend a quite time with it, and then we're gonna talk about the four worlds, Tzilut, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. So thank you very much for being in this lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson, and shalom.